Look who's back. Hey, everyone.
Pew, pew. Oh, I'm making Post-its fall off.
I've got my sidekick with me. Or am I your sidekick?
Yes.
Oh, I see what you did there. So,
wait, I have to do the theme song. Dun, 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 dun.
What was that, Hawaii 5-0?
I think so.
I don't remember. I'm not that old.
So.
Welcome to Eat the Elephant, everybody.
Is this thing on?
I know. Look who just decided to slum for a day and join me.
Today, special guest, lady with ice cream on her head.
Ice cream. I call it the cat poop ears, but I don't know if that's really cat poop.
This is a shout out to someone very special, and he knows if he sees today, he'll know.
Oh, excellent. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You just don't tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're letting everybody filter in the room here. So good to see people in the chat and so on. And I'm Jason, and what's your name today?
I'm Penelope? No, I'm Karin.
Right. So welcome to our channel. Welcome to this show. This is a live stream going on right now too. So if you hear us interacting with people, that's what we'll be doing.
Live stream is code for train wreck.
Well, probably. We haven't been doing too many live shows on YouTube lately, so we're a little rusty at all.
And we're going to get better, and we're going to bring everybody up to date and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Again, welcome to Eat the Elephant, where we teach you, hopefully, and ourselves, how to take one bite at a time out of life, because that's how you eat an elephant, right?
Right.
One bite at a time.
How do you start any big project?
One bite at a time.
Right.
Mother's Mustache, which is a funny name. I like that name.
We've always liked that name.
Says, hey, I haven't seen you two in forever.
Yeah. Turns out we're still together.
Despite rumors. Were there rumors? I don't feel like there were rumors.
Let's start one.
We'll start our own rumor. That's pretty funny. But yeah, so we, yes, Amazon Sellers didn't realize you changed your name. Yeah, so we did change the name because we felt like that really our process, what we do every day is about really trying to take just one bite each day out of whatever it is we're doing at a time, because that's all you can really do. Like you can't have this big project or something you want to accomplish and just do, I'm going to do 17 things today. You won't, most of the time you'll be lucky to get a couple done. So, and you have to really take it one bite at a time. A big, huge project is just a series of small bites.
Right. And one of the interesting things when we were talking about changing the branding of this channel, sort of giving you a facelift, right?
Right.
There are certain things that all of it has in common, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're selling jeans or books or baseball cards or whatever. We found that there were all these commonalities in success, for lack of better, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's certain things you can do to prepare, to support each other, all of these things. And so that's how pretty much the channel has evolved. And while we're going to share, now that I'm back, no, just kidding. So while we're going to share the rises, falls, successes, etc., of book selling, which is what we're all into right now, we're also going to still do the motivational stuff and reaching out to other friends of ours who are in different businesses, because the one thing that we did learn, I think, is that we learn most from each other, right?
Right.
And that's been the biggest gift for this entire journey. So there you go.
So given all those facts, one of the things that happens to a lot of people in the reselling community, and Karin and I were just talking about this at lunch today, is you run out of money. Maybe that happens to you in your life too. I think we've all been there, right? But more specifically, you run out of money in your reselling or just in your business in general. And we want to talk about that today because we kind of hit this little roadblock, we realized, just over the last week or two, and why it's happened, and kind of, what you can learn from it, and hopefully, maybe use some strategies to go forward.
Right. We did not have to, just to be clear, wash dishes for lunch today.
It was close.
Yeah, really close. But yeah, so it's not a bad problem to have. And our goal right now is a pretty lofty one. We've set a pretty high bar for ourselves. So it stands to reason that we're going to run out of money at some point each month, right? As we budget and project out. And we were talking about it yesterday, and it's a hard reality today, right?
Right.
And, you know, I have to say, I don't know, we didn't write out a full agenda today, so I'm probably going to get in trouble for jumping ahead. But hey, I'm rusty. Give me a break.
I thought you were Carmen.
Well, that too. You know, I might change my name. But we talked about like you with lunch, like, you know, here we are talking about not having any money and talking about how we went out to lunch today, right? You said something that was, I mean, integral to, I think, of how we want to be and how we model our business. And it's that we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we can't go to lunch today, or we can't go do this or whatever.
Right.
You know, if we want to go eat lunch at Whole Foods every day and spend $30 on lunch, let's put ourselves not so much in a position where we're having to do without, but let's make enough money to make that happen.
Right.
Right. And that's the difference, I think, in a lot of mindsets is it's that, and we've talked about that before, it's having an abundance mindset. And that's huge in how you view your business, how you view your life, how you view your plan, how you're setting yourself up for success or not, maybe.
For sure. And so I wanted to share with you guys kind of where our place is. And I'd like to kind of get your feedback too. And maybe in the chat, or if you're watching this later, leave me a comment. How many of you out there have, how many of you out there know if you're cash flow positive or negative in your business every month? And how many of you have felt like you just ran out of money to source with on any given month, any given week, any year, whatever your time frame is? Because one of the things that we're doing this year is we are pushing to source 1,000 books a month, 12,000 books in a year. And a couple things have happened. So first of all, in January, this video is coming out at the beginning of February. So in January, we hit that number. We sourced over 1,000 books. We sent in over 1,000 books. And to put that in perspective, that was almost double the inventory we had at Amazon in books already. So a huge win, right? Sure. I mean, I think by anybody's definition, if you double your inventory in a given month, that's a big, big win. I mean, it is, you know, assuming you've got some decent numbers of inventory. I mean, if you go from like 1 to 2, but if you double your inventory, you're going to have a lot of success in the long term. If you could do that every month, it'd be killer. But a couple things happen. So as I mentioned in the last video I did, we started sourcing more book sales. And book sales are tremendously good, in my opinion, for finding a lot of books in a short amount of time. However, book sales tend to be a little more expensive by probably a factor of like 25% or so than your average thrift store, for instance. Book sales tend to be a little more expensive because a lot of times these are nonprofit organizations that are raising money for a library or charity or what have you, and they just tend to be a little more expensive. So that fact alone cost us more than we thought. Like our average cost per book went from like $1.30 to closer to like $2. Like it was a pretty significant jump. And when you source 1,000 of something in a given month, you multiply it times whatever that increase is, and it's a decent amount of money. So that happened to us. The second thing that happened is there's a lag time when you're sending things in for Amazon FBA between when you buy them, you prep and ship them and send them, and they get to the warehouse and they go to live. That lag time could be, depending on how efficient you are, it could be a week or it could be 2 or 3 weeks. So like right now we have about 300 and some books that are shipped, but not at the warehouse as of yet. Now they'll hit and they'll be for sale, but you're always dealing with that lag time. Like you're always dealing with, we've got a shipment in transit, we got a bunch of units that are going in, but they're not there yet. They're not for sale. And until they hit the warehouse and they get processed, you can't sell them. So that happened too. And once all that happened, I realized that like our book selling part of our business alone, when you kind of look at it and I try to keep it compartmentalized and say, all right, how is it doing? Not just everything, but it doing. I realized like we ran out of sourcing money, like complete, because we were gonna go hit a book sale this weekend, and Karen was asking me about earlier in the week, and she said, you know, what are we gonna do? Are we going here? Are we going there? And I realized that we don't really have the money to do that. Like we could do it, but it would be tight, and it would, you know, kind of have us to shuffle money around to make it happen. Amazon, for instance, pays us out this Friday, which will be great, but it would be tricky on the timing. And also, one of the things that happened last month is you know, we hit a net profit of, I think, about 38% on our sales, but our cash flow was actually negative. Now that may seem like in reseller land, not such a good thing, but in reality, when you're scaling and building a business, that is very common. It's very common that you will outspend what you sell when you're trying to scale and get larger. So right away, I knew we had to do, you know, something different.
Right. And another challenge for us, I'm sure you've said this before, and for, you know, I have to say, I'm so excited when I put on my glasses, like so many of our old friends are in the chat.
I know, right?
And I just, hello to everyone. I'll get all mushy if I just go one by one, but it's awesome to see you guys. Thank you. Another challenge for us is that you're in this. This is what you do. It's not like you work a full-time job right. and you come home and this is like something you do on the side. So we're balancing, you know, providing a life and a lifestyle for ourselves, plus investing in the business, paying right. for the business, and all of those things.
Right.
So the balance is, I mean, the struggle is real, right?
Sure.
Like we're looking at constantly, you know, what can we do to make the business successful? And we're loving the books. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then we have to do all of those other things. And we've talked about, you know, what we can do to, you know, what was my question today? Like, how do we, oh, I won't say what I said. But my question, I had a cheeky answer. No, I had a cheeky answer to, you know, how can we get a lot of cash quick, right?
I was like, what are you suggesting?
Can we just leave it at that? Like, there's ways, but no, it has to be legal. It has to be above the board, whatever.
Legal, moral. Okay, well, it takes out about 98%.
Right. And so in looking at all of those numbers, you know, the books will only do so much. And it's a long game here, right? We're working toward building up that 12,000 book inventory. And this time, you know, next year, you know, we're probably going to be doing this show from a beach somewhere, right?
Sure.
Just please say yes.
Yes.
I need something to look forward to. So we've talked about what we can do then in the interim, in right. those times when we're not sourcing books. So if we're not going to be sourcing books, you've heard us, you know, our most valuable commodity is our time. So how can we make the most of our time? How can we monetize every moment of our time? So, et cetera, we're talking about getting back into some of the things that we've kind of
right.
let go.
Right. So, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute, but I just want to answer a couple of questions that came up in the chat. And
47.
What's 47?
I don't know.
Oh, she just took a shot.
I can't see it, so I'm just there.
Okay. What are you guys average spending at the book sale? Well, our average cost per book now is probably closer to $2 on book sales. It's a little over $2, I believe. This past book sale, we spent about $500. We bought more than 200 books at it. So it was great. Mm-hmm. We found a lot of great books too.
That was so much fun.
We didn't really we didn't look at it as we're only going to spend this much because we really wanted to go there and get everything profitable we could in the time we were there. And we did. Mm-hmm. We did. I feel like we really did. Did you guys downsize the house and keep the warehouse? For now, we're in the warehouse, but we're not going to be.
No, yeah.
So the warehouse is going away. Unfortunately, our benefactor, I guess, is no longer going to be having the warehouse.
Yeah, it's just too much for what they need and what we need. And so we're currently looking for a
different space. Yeah. So so if anybody wants to partner up in the Charlotte area.
Oh yeah, we talked about that too. Yeah.
We could talk about sharing a space together, which might be an option. So we're going to do that for sure. And what happened in the warehousing business? It looked like it was going very well. We did, and we finished it. Basically,
yeah.
We shipped out over. We talked about this in a couple other videos, but we shipped out over 20,000 items last year from that warehouse, and it was great. We had a great time. We made some good money doing it, and you know, we decided it didn't really make sense for us to do that right now with the situation we had going forward, but it's definitely something we might revisit.
If we have the space, the circumstances, all of those things are right like they were, and there's a good chance they will be. Of course we would do it again because we'll be much better at it for sure.
So if you think about the beginning of your month and maybe you look at your business bank account, let's say there's $1,000 in there. And you think, well, what if it's that $1,000 got to pay this month? It's got to pay several things. It's got to pay for any new inventory purchases. It's got to pay for any operational expenses you have in your business, like subscriptions or your overhead, your supplies. And hopefully in there somewhere, it's going to pay for a salary for you or anybody else that's working for you, right? So you need to think about at the beginning of the month or beginning of the quarter, or even the beginning of the year, you know, what does this look like? If I have $1,000 in cash right now, or whatever the number is, what can I spend on inventory realistically and get enough of it back that next month I'll be able to pay my operational expenses in too. And that comes into figuring out kind of like how much you're going to sell and how much you're going to sell for. There's a lot that goes into it. But you're going to know next month if you wake up one day and your business account is in the negative, or you got $7.22 to it, your name, and you're going to think, I may have overspent this month. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if you woke up next month and you had $900 still in your business account, maybe you didn't maximize all your opportunities either.
Yep.
But both are a problem, like not adequately predicting your cash flow and then using that cash to grow your business. Both will stifle your growth. And are a problem. So you need to find a balance in there. So we decided, all right, well, what can we do this month without as much cash flow right now? We came up with some decisions, or came up with some solutions to figure out how to deal with a lack of cash flow. This first one is going to sound. I'm going to talk about the first one. You can say whatever one you want after that. But this first one, and I just kind of thought of the way it is.
No, I want to go out. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Like the first thing to do if you're in a hole is to quit digging. So I'm going to say it that way, because if you're having a negative cash flow situation in your business after a given month, and in our case, it's for a good problem. We grew tremendously last month, had our best sales month we've had. So it was great. There was no complaints about it. But now we're like, well, our cash flow got kind of negative there for a bit. And for the month it was. Now we need to be a little more proactive this month. So we're not going to go out and buy at that level again right now. Like that doesn't make sense. We're going to have to let some things filter through the pipeline and sell through so that we can build our cash coffers back up some. So that's kind of my first tip is if you're running negative cash flow numbers, cut back on your immediate spending, especially on the inventory.
Well, and it speaks to in other reseller venues, right? Like how many times do you make this big pile or closet or box full of stuff and you haven't listed it and it's just sitting there? I mean, it's the same thing. You're unhappy because you're not making money, and for whatever reason you need to fill that need. I get it, to go out and get more things, but you got to list the things that you have, right?
Yep.
So stop spending money to make more money.
Right.
And that leads into what we can do with things that we already have. You know, if we're going through sort of a purge again here too with things that have been in the warehouse or been at home or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're either going to toss it, you're going to donate it, or you're going to sell it, right? Did I leave anything out? Or keep it, but the keeps don't matter here. And we had a conversation earlier today that certain collectibles or certain items that we've had, if we've held onto them this long and they're not going in the garbage can, let's make the most of it and let's try to sell it.
Right.
So if you have those available things and, you know, you can get, pull them out of the closet, or in this case, you know, the warehouse or whatever, get those things out there. And you have options, like you can list them on so many online platforms, you know, Facebook, a lot of the locals, you know, you don't have to pay fees on. So Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, you can, you know, if you want to spend the time meeting people and doing that, you can do that as well. Yeah. So stop buying and sell all the things that you have, right? Whether it's, you know, the pile that you've accumulated or things that you have that are worth money, but make whatever merchandise inventory that you have profitable.
And somebody mentioned our consignment, the consignment part of our business, which we still do. But we have some items that we need to list for that. That between finishing up the prep and shipping last year and getting into books, we got behind on doing some of that, but it's still here and it's still sellable and there's nothing wrong with it. And it's money we can realize as soon as we list it. So that ties into what you're saying, you know, take stock of what you already have instead of what you don't have. And whether it's your personal items to get rid of, whether it's your death pile, whether it's your consignment pile, whether it's your, this has been laying around a while and I'm just tired of it pile. Because I think it's important too. Somebody said, dumpster dive books are us, which is funny. But here's the thing, guys, like, yes, you can cut back on the cost of your new inventory, but if you're running negative cash flow, you still need to really think about what are other solutions here, because you can only cut your cost of inventory to zero. You can't grow a negative cost of inventory and gain money. You can just reduce expenses. You can only reduce it to zero. And that's in a perfect scenario, right? But it still costs you time. It's still going to cost you money to send it into Amazon. It's still going to cost you, some of it's going to fall out and never sell, or sell for less than you thought probably. So there's still a cost to all that. So that alone is not really going to be much of a solution. So you got to figure out ways to deal with this beyond just getting new or cheaper inventory and going beyond that, and figure out ways to bring cash in and get your business a little richer.
Well, and we talked about that. Even if we found a way to get all of the free books, there would still be a cost to those free books. Same thing. So even if you're getting it free, there's still a cost to it. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah. Euro says, I caught myself overspending a few times last year from cash flow for my full-time job. I had to cut it quick. And that's a great point. Like mixing your personal with your business can get you in a lot of trouble. You can start, if you're not succeeding in one and you're using that to prop up the other one, you really need to think about, I like to look at it as treat your business as a whole separate entity. It needs to be self-sustaining. Once you start it with seed capital, whatever that looks like, for the most part, with reselling especially, if you're not running a profit and you're running negative cash flow every month, you've got some other issue going on. Like that's not I just need to put more money in. Well, yeah, of course you need to put more money in, but the point is, why do you need to put it more in? And it's probably because something's wrong with your model or how you're burning through, your burn rate and so on. And that's kind of what I think a lot of us in the reselling game, we don't really maximize our opportunities. Most of us spend a lot of time in that nether region of either we're not spending enough and we're accumulating cash, or we're spending too much and not monetizing it back. Like a lot of us are in one of those two states a lot of the time. And if you want to really run an efficient, profitable business, you have to find ways to kind of get out of that mindset and say, all right, how do I really make sure that I'm not running negative cash flow, but I'm also, utilizing all my resources the best I can. Heather says, I just activated my Amazon seller account last night. I got a lot to learn. Yep, we all do, Heather. You're not the only one. Bearded Picker, what's up, man? Says, I don't think I'm a reseller at the minute, more of an inventory restacker, way behind. FOMO is killing me slowly. Yeah. One thing, Bearded, I realized last year sometime, my job is not to sell items. My job, I'm not a reseller really. That's Amazon's job. In my case, like it's their job to sell the item, to market the item, to warehouse the item. I'm more of a sourcer. I'm a resourcer. I don't think that's the right word. Than a reseller. Because if I can get the items to them and then the right items, they'll sell it. I have no fear of that. I don't have to worry about that part. Like we kind of had to worry about that more with eBay. Like there was a lot more buttons you had to press and levers you had to get just perfect to sell it. Well, you got to have the right picture and just the right description. And you don't have to worry about that with Amazon. Like a lot of that's already been taken off your plate, and you don't have to deal with the customer service and the shipping and so on. So my job is to get them inventory. And once you realize that, then you think about this cash flow issue and you're like, well, as long as I control my cash flow right, I can keep pushing inventory in there and getting sell through and growing and being profitable. I'll let Amazon handle that part of it. So that was kind of a sea change in my mindset last year.
I'm agreeing. No, what I have to say goes backwards. And whenever I go far too backwards, it sounds like I'm on another planet and you give me a funny look. So
a sourcing sorcerer. I like that. Clarence Ninja said that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I think when you start running out of money in your reselling business, really stop and take a moment. Don't just go buy a bunch of stuff. Don't loan yourself a bunch of money. Don't hoard the money you do have left in your account. Stop and think a moment about why you ran out. Like, what was the purpose? And last month, like I said at the beginning of this show, the reason we ran out is because we really ramped up our spending, like far greater than we had in any other month. And what was interesting is we sold a lot too, which kept money kind of coming in to keep doing that to some degree. But, we sold, I think, about 450 books last month. but we sourced over 1,000. So, because Karen was asking me today, like, she was like, how many do we have to sell to kind of break even on what we bought? And I've never really thought about it that way before, but it was a good question. And the answer for us was somewhere around a third. We needed to sell about 30% of our inventory, or 30% of what we sourced, to break even on everything we bought. And we sold a little more than that, but when you figured in the other fees, and that was just cost of goods, when you figure in the other fees and cost of selling, it still ran our cash flow just slightly negative last month. I think we were about $200 some to the negative. It wasn't a huge number, but it's enough where I went, crap. I mean, it wasn't a horrible, like if we'd ran $2,000 in negative, that would have been much different. I'd be like, man, something's very wrong here. We're not buying anything for a month. But I think like with us, we definitely, I don't know that we'll really source too much over the next week or so. When you really think about it, doesn't really make sense.
No, and we have already talked about what that looks like and have come up with a plan too. So
yeah. So, if you have to step back from your gig here and quit sourcing for a week or two, that's not a failure. Like that's just being a smart business person. If you're running negative cash flow, you can't do that forever. Like something has to change. Either your sell-through has to increase, your profitability has to increase, or you need to cut back on your sourcing or your expenses, or some combination of all those things. But something has to change, or eventually you'll be bankrupt. Like you can't do that forever, unless somebody's loaning you money, and that has expense too, because they're charging you interest probably. So if you're running negative cash flow, guys, it's not like the end of the world, but you absolutely need to stop and think about, why is this happening, and what steps going to take to avoid it.
And be able to pivot into what's going to make more money for you, either for the greater good or to put back into, in our case, back into books, right?
Right. Oh, and that was one of the other, do we even talk about that?
We didn't. We're running out of time too.
Oh, I know. We'll say that real quick. That was one of our other strategies, guys, for, and this is something, if you're selling on Amazon, you can do this. You can probably do it on eBay too. It's a little hard to get the data. But if you're starting to run out of cash flow in your niches, whatever they are, one thing you can do is look for other niches that have maybe a higher dollar return amount or faster sell-through. Maybe they're seasonal right now and they're in season, and you could really benefit from those. Like books is kind of textbooks has 2 seasons a year, but books kind of sell year round. So they don't really have a lot of seasons outside of the textbook category. But maybe you find another category out there and you look at some of the things that have great ranks, and you look for just those items that you can sell quick. Like this is kind of like the fast nickel approach versus a slow dime, because you want to look for, in our example, I think what we're going to do is look for items that we feel really confident will sell within 30 days. Like probably an 80 or 90% sell through within 30 days, which you can find those items. You're not going to make probably as much money on them.
Right.
For various reasons. There are books that you would know that you would sell within 30 days. The difference is those books on Amazon, like the books that will sell really, really fast, the books that are ranked like 50,000 or better, they don't make a lot of money for the most part. Like most of those books are like $10, $11, $12 price books. You're just not going to make a lot of money on them.
How many times do I get a scan on ScoutIQ and I hold up my phone and I'm like, but it has an e-score of 151. So that's not certainly going to be enough to get us to that point, right?
And you net like $1.06 on it, and you're like, ugh.
Oh, come on.
It's not really worth it at that point in our model. So that's a strategy you can use. You can find different categories and just find things that'll sell really quickly and that can make you a decent profit. If like your category isn't like that already, and maybe your category is like that, maybe you're in, you have that ability. So that's something we're going to focus on going forward. We'll take a question or two if there are any others, and then we're going to jump off here, I think. But Cindy has FOMO with couponing. She doesn't want to miss out.
Yeah.
I know, right? Clarence just says, have you considered increasing your profit potential percentage? This would lower your expense and you'd have fewer items to deal with. Yeah, I mean, books is a little trickier to do that with, I think.
Well, and we're tightening our triggers. We're narrowing our parameters and raising our ASP. I mean, there are things that we are doing certainly to make those numbers go higher.
Yeah, our average selling price of books from like 3 or 4 months ago, when we totally still didn't know what we're doing. Now we just sort of don't know what we're doing. But 3 or 4 months ago, our ASP was like $14.30, and now it's pushed up around 16. So that's a big jump. And we were actually getting more books in the pipeline, so it translates to more sales and more profitability. And we'll continue to work on that. There's a balance in there somewhere. You know, you don't want to go out and, if you only go out and say, I'm only going to source books that sell for $50. Well, you could do that. You're not going to find very many. You're going to spend an awful lot of time to find the ones you do. But I think there's a balance in there somewhere. So, but yeah, that's definitely something we're working on as well. Sue's in the chat too. I don't know if you knew that.
I do, and she said she's going to come to Charlotte soon. So.
All right, we're going to hold you to that, Sue. You know where we're going to go eat.
You know, I think it's her turn to buy lunch.
Need a good mix of fast sell and long tail. Yeah, and that's something.
That's part of that balance.
It is, and I think we'll probably focus in this next 30 days more on the fast selling ones, and then some long tail items. You know, and you know this, Sue, because you've been doing this for a while. But there are items you could buy right now that months from now, like in fourth quarter, would be great. Like right now, they might just be good or just sort of average, and then later down the road, they'll be really, really good. But we don't want to be in a holding position right now with cash flow issues. We want to actually move items quickly.
Well, and the challenges for us, the real challenges now are we're not going to have the endless space that we've had in the last year or so.
That's right.
And we don't have, you know, unlimited time to sit on something because we don't have the space. And we're making a living at this. So we can't just, you know, buy something and then wait a year for it to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one thing. Like if you find yourself running out of money on, you know, in your reselling bank account and so on, start pretending that bank account, if you're not already doing it, pays all your bills. You will change your perception of running out of money very, very quickly. I promise you. You'll be like, well, I need to pull this much out, which means I need to make this much, you know, and then you start figuring all this out. And it's not rocket science. We're not telling you anything that, you know, you wouldn't learn in a good business course and within the first 30 minutes. But cash flow is really, really important to your business, guys. So you need to get a handle on it if you don't already have a handle on it. Too much is kind of a problem, and not enough is kind of a problem if you're still in that growing stage, because you want to keep pushing money back into the business to keep growing. And that's where we're at right now. So that's what we're working towards.
Right. And, you know, consider sharing your thoughts on what you're doing currently to infuse your business in the most positive of ways. And consider sharing this video with other people too.
Yeah. And if you guys are interested in selling books out there, a couple great apps that we have linked to the description is ScoutIQ, which is what we use to go out and source books. And it's awesome. It allows you to go out and scan books, figure out how much, put in a profit amount you want to make, and put in certain triggers to figure out whether you want to get them in this rank or that. And it just tells you to accept them or reject them. It's really cool, really easy. And then Accelerlist is the other one. That's the actual program we use to list the books on Amazon, much better than Seller Central, which is a big pain in the butt. We find it really, really beneficial, especially for books, to be able to go in and figure out, you know, how to price the book, condition notes, all the things that you really need to do a listing very, very quickly and very, very accurately. So check those out in the description.
And what cool thing happened this week with Accelerlist? We were able to do it at the same time.
That's right. We were both in there in the app at the same time. So we were making 2 different batches, which is really cool.
And I got my own DYMO 450 XL printer in the mail.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we haven't even opened it
We
yet.
should unbox. We'll do an unboxing video.
An unboxing of the DYMO that we've already used. I don't know if that's really much of an unboxing.
You know, because if there's a quirk or weird thing about it, we've learned the workaround for sure.
Oh yeah, and they have a few little quirks, but man, they're great printers.
They're awesome.
I really like DYMOs. So.
Hey, I think Tanya's here too.
Hey Tanya, how are you? She says, "Eat the elephant?" ?
Well, what else?
She's gonna have to. You're gonna have to rewind this video and watch it. We talk about it right at the beginning. I don't know where you were at.
And, you know, stay tuned for more things like this. We're going to be coming on a lot more often with, you know, practical ways to better yourself and your business. We'll still do the funny motivational stuff, but definitely everything that we tackle, as big as it may seem, as, you know, that elephant in the room, the only way you're going to get there is one little step, one little bite at a time. And we're here to help get you through it.
That's it. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for today. We are definitely devoted to just 30-minute shows or so. So really great to see all you guys today.
We got to get back to work, man.
We got to get back to work. And if you're having those cash flow issues, you got to get back to figuring out So if you need any help or anything, send me a message or a comment. And as always, we hope that you have a really great day. And we'll see you guys pretty soon, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you.